Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Many people are familiar with building inspectors, and building inspectors have got a lot of power. And so most people don't encounter them that often unless they do a new build, they build a new house, or they have massive work done on their homes, or something else that requires an inspection. It varies wildly from state to state. But the big question is, if you disagree with the building inspector, what happens? And I've had people tell me, I don't care what the building inspector thinks. It's my house. My home is my castle. Problem, of course, is the building inspector's got the power to make bad things happen to your home or your castle. And once in a while, they do go overboard. And here's an example from WSVN.com. Ed sent this to me, thanks a lot. Patrick Frazier and Diana Rocha wrote this. Demolish building over drywall? That's the question. And here's what happened. In 2015, the story started. 8 years ago, 2015. Two brothers replaced a piece of drywall in an apartment that they own. 7 years later, the city sent them a notice that ended with the order to demolish the property as a result of the drywall. So they contacted Help Me Howard, which is with WSVN, and they asked the TV station to get involved. The TV station got involved, got it straightened out, but there was a period of time where there was a piece of paper saying, you need to demolish your building because that drywall was done improperly 7 years ago. So a long time ago, the parents of the brothers bought this property. It's seen some changes, and previously it's been a cleaners and a restaurant. Now it houses a church and 4 apartment units. So one of them said the building is to be apparently demolished because it's been deemed unsafe. The trouble started back in 2015 when water from a second-floor air conditioning unit ran inside the wall instead of outside the wall where water is supposed to be. A wet piece of drywall on the first-floor ceiling fell. So the water damaged the drywall, piece of drywall fell. So one of them said, I'm there with my truck, I got a piece of drywall and I put it back up. You'd think that'd be the end of it. In 2015, the city posted a notice that the brothers needed to pull a permit to repair the wet spot and the hole because it turns out the brother enlarged the hole a little bit to put in the new drywall. So apparently there's a hole there. He widened it a little bit, probably to get rid of the edges and any dampness, and put in a new piece of drywall, and there you go. He said the repair cost less than $100 to make and said you do not need a permit for that. And he thought that was it. Until 7 years later. And of course, the question is, how did the city find out about this? I don't know. But the city of Miami posted an unsafe structure notice on the building because of the water stain and the fact that a piece of drywall had fallen from the ceiling, which they now called a ceiling collapse, which technically speaking, those two words are correct in that it was a piece of the ceiling and something did collapse. But it's not like the whole ceiling collapsed. Okay, it's a great example of one where the words used that way sound much worse than real life. So the brothers needed to get a permit for the repair according to the city. And to do that, they had to go through a bunch of other hoops. So he was told, for instance, to hire a contractor and then get an architect who would redraw the plans and then, of course, just put up a piece of drywall. But they said, no, you need a contractor and an architect. Not somebody who pretends to be an architect, but an actual architect. So one brother thought there was no need to appear before the Unsafe Structures Board since he was taking care of the problem. And yes, there is an organization in Miami called the Unsafe Structures Board. They oversee, I presume, unsafe structures. So it turns out that they should have gone. And so in an attempt to go, one of them tried to schedule a meeting. And he was told, you will not be going in January. The docket is full. Oh, February docket's full also. And he said every single month he tried and they kept saying, we're full. Next month. So then finally he gets a notice. And so they had a request to speak to the Unsafe Structures Board and it was denied. And they were simply told, it's too late now. You got to demolish your building. So according to them, they did get a notice saying, hire the contractor, hire the architect. They didn't do that. They simply fixed the drywall. They then got the notice that bad things are going to happen. So they contact the Unsafe Structures Board, can never get a meeting. And then finally they're told, you don't get a meeting, just demolish your building. Just do that and get it over with. So the one brother says, if I won't demolish it, they will demolish it. So that is the other problem, is a lot of people go, well, they want me to demolish it. I'm not going to demolish it. Well, they'll do it for you and send you the bill. So one brother says, to tear down a church and a 4-unit apartment building. I apologize for the bad edits. I'm coughing. It's early in the morning. He says, that seems to be a steep price to pay for not getting a permit that was not required. And did they really require a permit? Because they replaced a piece of drywall that was water damaged. So they're fighting to save their building. And where somebody can come along and just take something from you, and I find that to be very disturbing, one of them said. The other one said, maybe we should call Help Me Howard. They did. And the question is, what does Howard Finkelstein think? He, of course, is the 7 News legal expert. He says, waiting years to come after a property owner over a piece of drywall doesn't make sense. The purpose of code enforcement is compliance and safety, not punishment. And that's what people often forget. The building inspectors are there to make sure that work is done safely. Because if it's not done safely, somewhere down the road, the building could collapse or catch on fire or something, if work in general is not done properly. So they want the buildings within their area to be safe. They're not there to just be picking on people and to be little dictators enforcing their will on others. I know some people say, but Steve, that's what they become. I know that. Power corrupts. Building authority power corrupts absolutely. The purpose of code enforcement is compliance and safety. If the city was concerned about safety, they should have done something in 2015. If it was unsafe in 2015, you wouldn't wait 8 years and go, okay, now it's unsafe, demolish it. Waiting until 2022 to try to demolish the building proves this is simply punishment. It's wrong, probably illegal, and should be stopped. It's wrong, probably illegal, and should be stopped. And as noted earlier, he is in fact an attorney, which is why he's couching by saying probably illegal. So they asked the city for all the records regarding the drywall case, and the attorney says all he got were pictures, but none of the paperwork. Then I was able to talk to high-ranking city officials who straightened it all out with just 4 words, and they said this was a mistake. So now they say it was a mistake. But before the man contacted the TV station, has an attorney who answers these questions, oh no, we're going to knock your building down. The attorney and the station get involved, oh, it was a mistake. And think about the distance between those two concepts. We're going to knock your building down. Oops, it was a mistake. This far apart. So they got a document canceling the notice of violation and the pending lien. The demolition order was also extinguished. And the brother says, well, I was glad to hear it. As for why the city waited 7 years to bring up the violation notice, the attorney was told the corner lot has 2 addresses, and there was a mix-up that wasn't discovered until last year. But the brothers won't have to fight anymore to save their property after the call to Help Me Howard. So Howard Finkelstein is a great guy. And I remember I've seen him on television before at WSVN in Florida. And so he says, it's another reason we're here, to give you a voice, referring to the viewers in the area. So one reminder, even if you do everything the government agency says to do, you need to contact them, get their approval in writing to avoid any other headaches, days or years down the road. And so there's the whole issue here. And so dealing with City Hall can be a nightmare. Fighting them might be impossible, but dealing with them in the first place can be a nightmare. And I know people who've told me that they had a problem with a building inspector, went through all kinds of hoops, and the next time they called, a different building inspector came out and goes, oh, this is fine. Don't worry about it. But all the work I just did, yeah, you didn't need to do that. Well, the other inspector said I did. Oh, the other guy? Sorry. He's like that. I've heard that before. I've actually heard that before. And so you can get different results depending on which inspector comes out to look. So it's a crazy situation. It ended well, but these guys went through what appears to be months and months of headache because they'd been told their building was going to be demolished if they didn't do it themselves. And it was all over a piece of drywall that they replaced themselves back in 2015, but they didn't pull a permit. So somebody came to the conclusion that at this point you got to demolish the whole place because it's unsafe. And it's been standing on its own 2 feet, so to speak, for the last 8 years. So from WSVN.com to Ed Senate, thanks a lot, Patrick Frazier and Diana Rocha wrote that. Demolish a building over drywall? Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. When you undervalue what you do, the whole world will undervalue who you are.